Hello, everybody. Can you hear us? Let us know if you can hear us. It's so good to be live again on YouTube. It's been a little minute. I am joined today by my mom, Renee Hecker. She is a professional life coach. Thanks for joining me. She's an empowerment life coach. So every day she meets with clients and teaches them how to take back their personal power. So I think that's a really important thing for each one of us to focus on right now as the news headlines get more and more daunting. So before we get into life coaching advice, I just want to read one of the latest big daunting headlines. LA City Council approves getting it in the arm requirement for indoor spaces. I'm trying not to use trigger words. It says, this is according to ABC, the ordinance, one of the strictest getting it in the arm requirements in the U.S., passed with 11 votes and awaits the signature of Mayor Garcetti. Los Angeles City Council on Wednesday approved an ordinance that will require people to show proof of their papers before entering indoor restaurants, bars, gyms, shopping centers, entertainment venues, and personal care establishments. So this is one of the most extreme requirements that we've seen. Yeah, trigger words. They're saying no trigger words. Yes, I'm trying not to use words that would trigger the YouTube bots to delete me. I've already had several strikes and I'm on the hairy edge of losing my YouTube. But I want to stay on here where most people are and be able to communicate with you guys. So we keep seeing these scary headlines, and I know I've spoken with a lot of my viewers, and you guys are feeling really overwhelmed, like you're potentially going to be losing all your freedoms soon. Like this is the end of America, and it's a really disempowering thing. So I want to get into your advice on how to take back your power and handle a lot of these situations, including relationships where this is a divisive time and people who used to love each other ended up hating each other. So before we get into your advice, I've got to shout out one of my new advertisers that's allowing me to do this thing full time and tackle independent journalism. So surveys show 35% of people don't think that their anti-aging cream works. The truth is the anti-aging industry is filled with exaggerated claims, but there is a secret. The secret is Glow with Ivory, which is one of the best anti-aging serums out there. A lot of people say they begin to look and feel younger in no time after routinely taking it. So I highly recommend Glow with Ivory. Try it today for 38% off by going to glowwithivory.com or by visiting the link in my description right now. So really grateful for that partnership, Glow with Ivory. Okay, so let's talk about, first of all, I have gotten so many comments from people saying, this is the end of America as we know it, which I know. I interviewed people when I worked with Fox. I interviewed people who said, yeah, if Biden wins, it's going to be the end of America. And now more and more people feel that way. So how, first of all, how does that affect your psyche? And how can you take back your power in that situation?
I was talking to Irene before we started, and how impressed I was in reading Viktor Frankl's book, The Search for Meaning. It's a very popular book, and it was written by a man who went through the Holocaust, and he was a psychiatrist. So he found it really interesting being in the prison camps and observing those who made it through and could survive it, and those who just withered and died under it. And I read this book. My husband and I Dad and I used to ride in the car, and I'd have a book, and we'd ride for hours sometimes together going places. And so I'd have a book. And so we read that book together. And one of the quotes that stood out to me was, he said that, let's see, I don't want to butcher it here. I'm going to read it to you. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way. And and that's what he's came up the conclusion he came up with in watching all these people, different ones. The ones who survived were the ones who chose their attitude and going through it, and chose positivity in the midst of it all, chose to seems like there was one man who, and maybe it was even him, was in a hospital part of the prison camp around him and things. And so no matter what situation we're in, there is always, always something good that you can find, no matter what. And in any given situation, there is always something negative and bad, you could say, going on. And you can focus on that. And who is happy and who is not is determined on what they focus on. Um, I just remember thinking one time, thinking about life and how in the world of the wealthy, there are people who are wealthy and who are miserable and alcoholics and despairing and commit suicide finally. And then amongst the rich, there are also those who are very happy, happy with their life, have wonderful families, um, very prosperous in every way. And amongst the poor, it's the same thing. Some that are very miserable in their poverty, and then there are others who are happy every day in what they have. And what determined, I thought, so what's the difference? It's what they chose to focus on, and that either raised their spirits or it lowered them. And it's that simple. It's that hard, but it's that simple. Um, and I know, in our family, you probably most of you are aware, my husband being killed suddenly a year and a half ago. And he was the rock of our home. And when he left, it just rocked our world. It flipped my world upside down because I was a stay at home mom, and my husband always provided for us. Our agreement was he'd be the breadwinner and I would stay home. We'd have lots of kids and I would homeschool them and raise them and tend to those things, and he would tend to the business things and providing for us. So in one moment that was all of a sudden put on my lap, I had no security net to fall on, and I had to figure out what I was going to do. I didn't have life insurance to fall on, a degree to fall on, um, but like Viktor Frankl, I had the freedom of thought, and I had the choice to either despair and get all troubled and shook by it, and what on earth are we going to do? I still have five, four children who are dependent on me. Thankfully, most of my kids were adults, but I still had four at home here, and I decided to take one day at a time, and I decided to focus on two. One day when I was standing in my bathroom, and I just thought, this is so cruel. Just felt so cruel. And I immediately had the thought that said, Renee, would you rather have 34 years of a wonderful man and love and then learn to let it go? Or would you rather have never experienced that at all? And I immediately thought that's a no-brainer. I will take the 34 years and I will learn to stand on my own 2 feet. And I'm gonna trust until August, once the shock had gone off and I had gone through figuring out my husband's business and taking care of it. Really took time to um, feel the thoughts. I mean, feel the feelings, feel the grief, feel the sadness. But there came a moment when I had a little voice saying, enough. That what was that time and season, these weeks that have been healing, that if limited, whenever through a thought of what am I going to do, I still don't have money rolling in yet. um, I have chosen to rest, and I've chosen to be at peace. And I think sometimes we think that we don't choice in that, but we really do. We have a choice every moment as to how we're going to live in our emotions and in our thought life. And when worrisome thoughts come with this whole COVID thing going on, maybe that was a trigger word, I don't know, but with all the things that are going on with that, um, sometimes we think we don't have a choice but to stress. People are losing their businesses. People are so scared they're going to lose their job if they don't comply. But we have a choice. We have a choice to believe that all is going to be well. Life really is for each one of us individually to prosper, to do well. But our part to make that happen is that we rest and that we focus on what is good and that we claim and believe that all is well. All is well. In my world, all is well. And because the outer world reflects the inner world, if we're going to change the outward circumstances, first we have to start it inside. That whole thought of let there be peace on earth, but let it begin with me. And so that's what I've purposed to do this last year. And sometimes it's a moment at a time, sometimes it's a day at a time. Um, I had my little, I had my little 14-year-old son ask me the other day in the kitchen. He said, "How often do you cry?" Because I'm pretty happy, and usually when I'm on do my Instagram recordings and things, you see me smiling, and that's how I generally am. Um, but in my quiet moments, I I will have the feels go through me. But mostly, this is how I am. And
So it's about mindset. So I want to get your guys' questions too, if you guys have questions in regards to life coaching. But first, take me through what life coaching is. What is an empowerment life coach? I understand it's kind of like a therapist.
kind of, I guess, when I first became a life coach, I I jumped into that the week after my husband died. I got an email saying how to become a life coach in 3 days, and I was like, that's what I need. I don't have 9 months. Um, and so the next week began a intensive boot camp for it, and but I saw that, as I was making my website and things, different people were life coaches geared towards health or geared towards business or fitness. And what was I going to be? And that was the word that came to me was empowerment. And I don't know that I had seen that anyone else, I mean, that was a thing, but I decided I was going to be an empowerment life coach. And the basis for that was all the different things um, that I'd gone through in life that I'd had to pull myself up and out of a circumstance, a rut, and get myself back on my feet again.
So that's what you try to do for your clients.
And so for my clients, that's the same thing. I'm geared towards those who have been in a rut or have gone through something that has rocked their world, and they're having a hard time getting their footing on the ground again and being hopeful and finding their own power to rise up and be happy again and,
Yeah.
And be successful in every way. So that can go with it can deal with parenting, it can deal with a relationship, it can deal with your one of the first people I dealt with was a man who was very frustrated in his business world and how to just losing it, getting really discouraged and depressed. And so helped him get on his feet again and find hope in his situation, how to deal with the people his fellow employees in a positive way, and to create a positive situation there. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
that only took maybe 6 to 8 weeks, and he was on his feet again, doing really well. and he
Wow.
happened to
So
be in a
what?
situation.
Yeah, and a lot of people are kind of in similar situation. I mean, a lot of people have lost their jobs or are about to lose their jobs um, ever since 2020, whether it was from businesses closing due to all these crazy mandates or from, you know, your your boss forcing you to put something in your body you don't want to. Um, or so a lot of people have lost their jobs, or there's just been a lot of loss, and there's been tension. So what helped that man? What did you take him through to help him that could maybe help these people?
Well, one of the things that, and I don't do this with everyone, I kind of sense where people are at, and a lot of people have some religious thinkings that keeps them pretty tightly closed to what I can share because it'll bring up walls real quickly. So I have to kind of
Mm.
sense where people are at and what will work with them without bringing up walls. You know how it is to use semantics can be a big thing. The certain terms that you use, and when I talk about God, I like to use the term life because in the Bible, even Jesus said, "I'm the way, the truth, the life." And life is
Mm-hmm.
something you can't. I think most religions can't deny that God is, but yet you can't box it in, and it's something acceptable. If you use, some people use the universe replying to God, referring to God, and other people, and that turns off some people. If you use the term God, that turns other people off. So I'll use the term life often with them. And one thing with that man in particular is I really plugged him into the law of attraction and taught him how to use the law of attraction in his to his benefit. The law of attraction is happening. It's like the law of gravity, whether you believe it or not, it's happening in your world. And so few, it seems like, know how to actually use it to their benefit. So that's what I taught him, and he latched on to every word and he did it.
So, for people who don't know, what is it and how does it work?
The law of attraction basically says that what you send out comes back to you. So growing up, I had always been taught the verse in the Bible that what you sow, you reap. And so I believe that with actions, but I had never taken and applied it to my thoughts and my emotional state and realized that the emotions I carry and the thoughts I carry also, what I send out comes back to me. So emotions means energy and motion. And your emotions actually create an energy field about you. And that energy field pulls back to you more things to reflect that energy field, like to magnify it, I guess you might say. So if I'm very angry and upset, and I carry that emotion kind of habitually, that becomes my aura or my energy field, and I will attract to myself more situations to make me keep me being angry. And
Mm.
if you're stressed and that is your vibe that you're sending out, you're creating more circumstances, more people to come into your life that will keep that stress going.
Mm.
And so um, I told him how important it is that, in his workplace and in his home and his marriage and just in his life in general, it is so, so important that he get on a positive plane again. And for this man, it was just basically a pivoting that he had to do because he had been a very positive person, went through a slump, and now just couldn't get back out. So I was basically pivoting back to where he had been.
So, someone here is asking if that means cutting people out of your life or limiting contact with certain people.
Oh, absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. And because because and depending on your personality, some people can have other people around them and they can let their energy fly right by, but a lot of people uh, are like sponges. The more
Mm-hmm.
emotional kind of a personality are, I tend to be more objective, more an intellectual, and so I can stand back and observe it without absorbing it as much. So he had to kind of cut things off a little more so than I had to, but I still have to also, or I can sense when I'm getting dragged down. So yeah, for sure.
Cut people out. and just focus on, at least for the time, cut negative people out.
Well, and this is the
and then
thing.
focus on things that are easy to feel good about, right?
Yeah. And you may find that the more positive you get and grateful and optimistic and upbeat, you don't even have to cut people off. Birds of a feather flock together. And so I haven't had to go
your
cutting
negative
off.
friends will just not like you anymore if you're too happy.
Yeah, because negativity likes more negativity to feed on. So there's very few, if any, I've had to actually cut off. They're just not interested in me anymore.
Ooh, some people are saying YouTube is lagging. Yeah, I don't know about our internet connection out here in Wisconsin. Hopefully it's going all right. Yeah, and don't participate in the negativity. Like, a lot of people are it's so easy to be divisive with any of the news topics. These news topics are impacting people's personal lives more than ever now. When we're talking about broad, sweeping requirements for people's lives now, and more requirements where you don't have a choice. And so it's so easy to talk about the worst thing. And I remember, I working in news every day of my life for the past 9 years. You're surrounded by negative headlines, and a lot of people in the newsroom are the most negative people you'll ever see. It's crazy. And it's so divisive. And now we're seeing it in our regular world. So many, so much division and hate and gossiping and frustration and fear. And people, it's such a conversation starter. Did you hear about this? The latest wacky thing that Biden's trying to throw on us. Oh my gosh. And and it's so easy to feed into that. Like, oh yeah, this is crazy. This scares me. I remember it started to cause me to spiral into a negative place until I realized I need to stop feeding into that conversation that it's so easy to have. So when someone would say something, look at how scary this is. I can no longer go into a grocery store in LA because I didn't want to put something in my body that the government was trying to force on me. That's horrifying to me. But if you if you just respond with a comment about the upside, well, at least the next county over is their grocery stores are great. Yeah. So I've been wanting to try those grocery stores. Yeah. And that's what helped me. That's what helped lift me.
Yeah.
This was actually before the pandemic, but it helped bring me to a more positive place when I said, every time something negative is going to be brought up, I'm going to focus on the most positive aspect of it. And it was funny, the people I was talking to would be like, oh yeah, like, oh, they wanted to get riled up about that, but I just shut it down with something positive. And so eventually those people wouldn't have as much fun talking to me. So it's what you're saying is they would eventually fade out of your life because you're being too positive.
Yeah, it's really true. I don't think there's anybody I've had to cut out because they don't. Negative people like to be negative, and if you just are positive, you're dampening their style, you're crimping their style. So they're not really interested in hanging around.
Someone said, Mrs. Hecker, have you found it helpful for folks to do CBT if they find themselves in negative spirals? Do you mean CBD or what is CBT?
I'm thinking CBD.
Oh, okay. Do you recommend CBD?
I haven't, just because the things I recommend, I try to recommend things that I've actually done and found myself to be helpful. So I know that it's been helpful to a lot of people, but because I don't have firsthand experience with it, I don't want to pass along something I'm not real sure about. So I tend to share with people the things that have helped me. So
yeah, I've tried CBD. I actually have 2 different brand bottles of CBD right now, and I can say that I don't feel any effects when I'm anxious. It's supposed to help you with anxiety. Well, I guess I'm immune. I stay just as anxious. I've got to try something else. You know what helps me with anxiety? I know all of our anxiety is probably more heightened right now. It's harder than ever to make that mental switch to peace and power. Power is in peace. But for me, um, working out, just go run as fast as you can or lift some heavy weights and exhaust your body. That physical emotional connection is so real, and your anxiety emotions, I feel like they get stored up in my body, and when I really work my body, then it's like, okay, I feel so much better. So working out helps me a lot. And then any form of art, you guys, I highly recommend art. Playing my guitar is the most peaceful thing for me. I know others rave about how painting soothes their soul. So any sort of art as well. Yeah, laughter and exercise. Yeah. Watch something so funny. When my grandma got cancer, she started to watch comedy shows every day, and it actually helped her health. She swears.
Yeah, yeah. We just did natural things with her, and she was given.
Ooh, this is where YouTube gets we talk about cancer.
Well, we're not going to do trigger words. Huh?
Chemo rocks, YouTube. Chemo rocks. Okay, go on.
I mean, they gave her weeks, maybe months to live, and we just did. She was 83 years old, I think, at the time, and so there were, there's certain clinics and things you can go to, but at her age, I knew she wouldn't be up for it. So we just did. We told her there were certain things that really weighed on her, and we told her, you have to let them go. You just have to not care about them anymore. Let the family worries go. And she did really well with that, doing that. But then we just did some really simple dietary things, changed her diet to an alkaline diet.
Ooh, we'll have to do an in-depth video on this for my uncensored website. This is exactly the topic that YouTube likes to delete you on. And I'll reference right back to Zach Voorhees, the Project Veritas whistleblower who came out before me, had a big 6-figure job for Google, and he learned that one of the things that Google and Google and YouTube are the same thing, obviously. One of the things that they were censoring out search results that you can't find was in regards to cancer treatment. Anything outside of the standard of care, which is like chemo and radiation, they would censor out. And Zach uncovered all those horrors and literally threw away his giant job because he was so horrified that that's what Google was suppressing.
Well, my mom lived for another 3 years. We'll say that much. She lived and
yeah.
Healthy. I mean, not healthy, but she was comfortable and well. And in the end, I think died of congestive heart failure. But yeah, so
she didn't even die of the cancer.
Yeah.
And she did not get chemo or radiation. Guys, we can't talk about what she really did here because YouTube's going to get rid of it.
Just simple things, though.
But maybe let us know if you want us to do an in-depth video on that sort of treatment. We can put it on my uncensored channel, which is ivoryhacker.com. It's in my description. By the way, her website's in my description. Her Instagram's in my description. And I want to get back to some of these topics that a lot of people are struggling with in life coaching. Some relationships are harder than ever right now. I know life coaching, you help with relationships a lot. And there are families and friendships that have been splintered apart in this pandemic, and a lot of it is over getting it in the arm. I know there was a viral TikTok where a guy was saying how dating is so hard because the girls haven't gotten it in the arm. I know the girls who haven't gotten it in the arm don't want him either. But beyond that, families are saying, oh, you haven't gotten it in the arm, so you can't come to our family reunion, and so it's a very divisive time. So what's your advice on healing those relationships, or at least coping with them and doing your best to salvage what's left?
I don't know. I'm a big one for live and let live, So I mean, even within a marriage, which is really hard when you're both sharing children that you're both making decisions for. So that's really tricky. um, but extended family and friends, if they don't, if mine don't want me around and feel threatened by me, it's time for us not to take things personal, but just to understand it, try to understand from their point of view and just respect their decision and say, okay, maybe when this passes over, we can all get together again and just continue to love each other and accept each other's viewpoints and perspectives, and not roll our eyes at each other and go off with an attitude and taking it personally, and then these big offenses rise up. um,
It's like a new religion, someone said. It really
it
is
is.
with the arm thing. I
It
don't want to
is.
say trigger words.
It is, but it's time to accept each other's viewpoints, but give freedom, man. Give freedom, and if they need to be separated, well, there could be worse things, I guess.
Hmm.
That's not always fun.
Yeah, they're saying my sister in Hollywood is mad at the rest of the family for not getting it and is refusing to come visit. Um, Someone said I noticed CBD only works in combination with THC. Is that right? Interesting. Um, so I'm reading your comments here. Yeah, so one topic which I can't even imagine being in this place, but I've heard from multiple viewers who say they are in the place where their wife or husband or ex-wife or husband is deciding that the kids need to get it in the arm and they don't want it, and it's their kid and they're very concerned for their child, but the other parent is making it happen against their will, and they're trying to convince this other parent to not do that to the kid. They feel so helpless. What advice would you give them?
That's such an extremely hard situation.
Yeah.
Because I know people, I know a couple like that are very divided on that. And I guess if I were in that situation and my husband wanted it, I would greatly appeal to him and just say, would you be open? Would you be open to me doing some natural things that will really make their immune system strong? Um, some things that are from many sources um, claim to help the immune system be strong, and maybe there'd be even there's so many naturopathic doctors and nutritionists that could weigh in on that. And I don't know, there's somehow that you got to be able to work together and communicate. And I don't know, stressing and striving over it is only going to increase sickness, not help anything. And for the children, for their health, I mean, somehow you have to be able to, as a couple, discuss it in a way that's two human beings who are being kind to each other. The healthiest thing for your children is not it shot in the arm. Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, you can call it that.
Shot in the arm. Um, it's it's creating an atmosphere of peace in the home, of safety and security for them. That is the healthiest thing you can do for your kids. So by all means, don't argue over this virus. I'm not even sure what words we can say here.
The illness.
Yeah.
Um,
But I would make some appeals.
you may have to take them to court, said someone. Yeah, that's a horrible thing when you're concerned about your child's well-being, but your significant other, like one guy that his wife or his ex-wife had primary custody of the kids, so it was just up to her, and he felt so helpless.
Mhm.
And he was asking me for any of my news coverage that he could send to her to try to convince her But yeah, probably send that try to find some coverage of this topic that is from her favorite source. You know, if she loves CNN, she might have a hard time. might have a hard time finding coverage that
Yeah.
that says anything other than, your kids will be very healthy and happy if they get it in the arm.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
yeah, I know in Canada, oh my gosh, the Canadians, I've talked to them too, and their parents are stressed out of their minds there because hockey's a big thing there, and now the
Yeah.
kids are being forced to get it in the arm if they want to play hockey. And the parents are like, wow, my child's a star hockey player. I'm really going to have to choose between his whole identity as a hockey player or risking heart issues in my 12-year-old. It's just like, oh my gosh, there's so many
Hmm.
reasons to be so
Maybe,
stressed.
and maybe the thing is, the people who are listening to the CNN are not seeing all the things that are being censored out, and so
Mm-hmm.
maybe it would be helpful to get a compilation of the stories that on the uncensored websites
Mm-hmm.
of how it is affecting the children, and
Yeah.
it's compared to the risk that children had of getting the sickness.
Yeah.
It's totally not worth it, in my
Yeah, and
opinion.
actually, the mainstream outlets have actually covered that now. I mean, you can go directly to the FDA's website, and it'll list that warning for the now FDA approved version of of this shot, which by the way is not available in America yet. This is pretty deceptive, but the FDA approved version has an official warning about heart issues. So you could just send them that and be like, "This is real," and then there's more and more coverage out there of the people who have died or had serious issues. Now we're getting into exactly what YouTube would delete my account for, so I should probably stop talking about. The bottom line is, and I'm not anti get it in the arm. I want you to make your own decision. I just want you to be informed, and I'm glad that most people seem to be doing just fine. But I think that uh, it's very creepy and alarming the amount that's being suppressed, and we don't fully know how many are not doing just fine because of all the suppressions. That concerns me. Um,
Mhm.
my family just gaslights me. I have the same thoughts about COVID as you, Ivory, and they just tell me, "Where do you get your information from?" They think I didn't come from TV. It's not true. Uh, okay, so yeah, exactly. So a lot of people feeling gaslighted now. Um, a lot of people were coerced into getting it, and now they have this uneasy feeling like, what did I put in my body? But at least I still have my job. But is my health okay? Now, how do you resolve that? And how do you have peace with yourself about being coerced into getting something you didn't want? How does someone return to their power in that sort of situation?
Yeah, I think I have to believe that, because there's some scare stories out there that it's irreversible and all this, but I have to believe that the God who created this body is greater than that, even, and um, and that there is always a remedy to everything. Um, so should there, some of these scare stories be true, I still put great hope and faith in that, and that there is always a way, um,
Mm-hmm.
an answer that will come out if one is needed. And so what I do know is that sometimes what we can't change, we have to let change us. And so
Mm-hmm.
some things in life are irreversible, but they can do inner work in us that is something that will be better and brighter than if we had never gone through the irreversible thing. So
Yeah.
um,
I have great faith in the power of your immune system
yeah, the body to
to
heal it. and
Yeah,
cleanse it and to
but it's
change it
important
to
to
health.
nurture your body, you know.
You have to give it the environment to do that though. You can't just sit back and drink your coffee and eat your Krispy Kremes. The two things I always say, and expect your body to thrive and be healthy.
Yeah.
Um, for the people who've felt like that my children and I should have it a shot in the arm. I've said we were prepared for this moment though in another way. We've done so many other things to have our immune systems intact. It wasn't just that we came to this moment and we're flippant and we're like, yeah, we don't need it. This is nothing. Um, no, it's a real sickness and something that we have to contend with. But I mean, start now. Start now in keeping your immune system high and get off your high sugar, um, high stimulant diets and get out and move around and exercise and start. Um, I guess we've talked before that the bulk of health is not so much in what you put into your body and the exercise you do. I've heard that that's like 15% of your health. 85% of your health is your emotional state that you carry. So, knowing
Yeah.
that your body is strong and capable to handle what comes against it, and resting in that, and
When you take good
be
care of your
happy.
body, it just has this effect on your mind anyway. It
Yeah,
literally I just have this peace knowing I'm doing the right thing for my body, that I ate right today, that I
that's true.
exercised today. But again, exercise itself just relaxes you, gets all that tension out.
Makes happy endorphins
But
too.
also
Love it.
there's research on like when you're eating too many carbs, the effect it can have on your anxiety and things like that. Carbs aren't bad, but most Americans are overdosing on processed carbs, which is really hard on the body, actually.
And I think coffee is another thing that
Coffee gives you
makes
anxiety sometimes,
more
for sure.
anxiety.
Yeah. So I take my coffee in the morning. I'm like, is my business gonna work out? And then I'm like, CBD. Okay, the CBD did nothing. The coffee's still wiring me up. I was like, is it my coffee that's making me anxious, or is it the world falling apart in the news headlines? Oh, someone mentioned yoga. Absolutely. So when I started this independent journalism business, it was really overwhelming, and it still is sometimes. And I found myself craving yoga, and so I joined this amazing yoga studio, and just went as much as possible, and it really helped. It, yeah, I highly recommend yoga.
Yoga, meditation,
Oh yeah,
anything that
meditation.
disrupts that flow of thoughts is funny because sometimes your thoughts get going and one thought leads to another thought, and pretty soon you've got this snowball of stressful thoughts going.
Right.
Um, and
Yeah.
to do anything like painting, yoga that gets you in the moment of what you're doing. Gardening was another one.
Mm-hmm.
So that you're focused on one thing that's happening right now. It can stop that. And I was telling Ivory the other day that one way I found to stop the emotions like that, and it just struck me when I did it. I wasn't doing it to do that, but I'm so happy generally when I'm doing my recordings that people don't realize that no, I deal with sadness too. And so I had just come from a Q&A on my on my Instagram stories, and I'm happy during it all. And as I'm riding home from where I had been, it was about an hour drive, a song must have come up on my playlist and reminded me of my husband, and the emotions started to flow. And I thought here I was just really happy. And I think my viewers don't realize that I deal with sadness every day knocking at my door. And so I took my phone to just take a picture of it to show my viewers that this is me too. I'm smiles, but here I am with tears going down. But as soon as I did that, boy, it was a disruption, and I didn't look sad anymore because it disrupted my whole train of thought that had made me cry.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, huh, that's anything that you do, all of a sudden that you're focused on something else, even if it's taking a picture, um, will break the thoughts, and there's your moment of stillness, and you can change your thoughts like that then. And I did.
So every time you're in a tizzy, make a promise to yourself. If you get in a tizzy, you have to document it with the selfie.
You have to take a selfie. Yeah.
And it'll get you out of that tizzy.
Yeah.
Love that. Someone said chopping wood is great for de-stressing. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's kind of a form of exercise.
Yeah. Someone said you simply cannot you. Sometimes it's something uh more active, like for me, sometimes depending on my stress level, sometimes I have to run sprints to get my zen back, and sometimes it's yoga, and sometimes it's playing guitar. It just depends.
Sometimes it's just sitting on the front porch and
Taking selfies doesn't work for men. I bet it would. Try it.
Yeah, it will. It will.
If you get angry and you tell yourself you have to take a pic next time you get angry,
try it. You can just try it.
Yeah. Art is good. Absolutely, you guys. I'm saying art is good. Yes.
I think part of the problem of this society right now is that we are constantly busy. You know, in generations past, they took time after supper to just sit on the front porch. They didn't, for a while there, they didn't have cars to run here and there, and they had farms to tend to, so they had animals. And when you tend to animals, you're kind of in the moment of, you get caught by just watching them because they're amusing. And my husband used to, when we had our herd of cows, he would after work go up on the hill and just walk amongst them. And I think it was really meditative to him, that kept him in a good Zen place. And sometimes we have to learn to say no. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do it, meaning people ask us to do this or participate in that. And
yeah. Okay, so one thing that is just an amazing mood changer, and I think it gives you back your power, is actually service to others.
Yeah.
Like doing something for others. It's just amazing. I remember in 2019, I felt, my heart felt so shattered, and I got this thought to play guitar for the old people in the nursing home. And I just called up the closest nursing home and asked them if I could come play guitar. And they said for free. And I was like, yeah. And I just went in there, and, some of the old people were just enthralled and thrilled. And it just giving them that music did something amazing to my soul that lifted me so much. Doing any sort of kind act for others for free, it's really gonna transform you. If the world's ending, at least help each other out. Well, it
goes down. Well, it's opening your heart to loving. Whenever you open your heart to give, you're opening your heart to love, and love always feels good when it flows out. It made me think when you said that when Dad died, I was so shattered. If you wanted to affect me in the worst way, it was take my husband. And I thought to myself that first week, I thought I can make it, and I can probably even be happy again, but I cannot see how I will be happier ever. And but he died on a Monday, and his siblings came to view his body on Thursday. And I just, once they came in, as I led them in to view their brother and give their last goodbyes, I just had a thought come into my head to just, Renee, bless them on Nathan's behalf. Put your arm around them and tell them how much Nathan loved them. And share, if anything comes to your mind that you remember Nathan saying good about them, share that with them now. And so I did. I just acted on that. And one by one, I went around, and as they came up, and just put my arm around them and told them how much Nathan loved them, which he did. and shared memories of what I remember, good things Nathan felt and thought about them.
Mm.
And what was interesting after doing that, I had stepped out of my own sorrow
Mm.
and began to give love to them and love them on my husband's behalf. And it was my first glimpse of joy. I
Mm.
had such joy after doing that. So it's like the
Wow.
same thing. You're getting your eyes off yourself
Yeah,
and caring for others, and it will change your world.
absolutely. Um, yeah, someone said watching Newsmax, OAN, and other conservative channels, it just feels like there's no hope and it's a black pill every single day. Yeah, so maybe you do need to turn off the news for a while. Look at something positive. I always put a positive spin on my news if you want to watch it. That's the only spin I add is positivity. No, I'm just like, there's so many heavy things in life, and you know, as I always say, don't take life too seriously. You'll never get out alive. It's true. We're all gonna die. So, and misery or tragedy is comedy. They say, depending on how you look at it. So yeah, and it's sometimes you have to make light of the worst things and try to laugh and say if the world's going down, we'll enjoy the ride, but trust that it'll go back up. Okay, guys, there have been weird twists in history before, and people came out on top. So
It's a fine line learning to walk, to know, to be aware of what's happening, but to stay at peace at the same time.
mhm.
And I've heard that someone who is in alignment with their source, the one who created them, meaning is at peace in life and is living and walking in love and goodness, kindness, that person who's in alignment like that has more power than a million who aren't. And I think it's true. And
Mm-hmm.
that tells me how few are walking in that alignment.
So this, people call this a spiritual battle. I don't know if I can say these trigger words, but um, the bottom line is that peace is power, and in this divisive world, whoever is living in fear is going to be the weakest. If you have peace in your heart, you have the power to do what you need to survive, overcome, beat beat that person, and come out victorious, standing up for your freedom and other people's freedom. But you
Absolutely.
have to keep the peace,
Absolutely.
which is hard right now, but daily meditation, daily practices of things that bring you peace. You know what some people have done is get a cute pet right now. Some people got a pandemic pet in 2020, and they said, with all those lockdowns and losing your jobs and your businesses closing, they said the pet carried them through, and all that solitude in quarantine. Because some people took those quarantines really serious, and they did not leave their homes, and they got depressed. And they said that their little pet they had brought in from the shelter during that time carried them through. Sometimes you have to find it easy to sometimes that's a fuzzy little puppy.
Yeah. Little practical things like that can really change. And you can come up with your own unique ideas. It's amazing when you're open to finding peace, those little ideas that come to your mind. But
No, someone's talking about their emotional support animal they got in 2018. Yes, guys, guinea pigs. All right, all right. Yes, love it.
we have cats here if anybody needs them. Cats to give away. Nice farm cats. Uh,
Someone's Someone said actual guinea pigs, not the people who got it in the arm. Not those guinea
yeah.
pigs. Kidding, YouTube. Kidding, YouTube. um, Yeah, Rottweilers. You like the fox should be like, no, you'll work from home. Wow, I think our bodies do need sunshine. I feel so much better and more energized after just getting some sun. Don't tell fox I stepped outside.
Yeah. And be in nature. I mean, if you're a city dweller, going out in nature and absorbing the energy of nature, it's like God's energy.
High vibes.
Yeah, it'll change your mood. It is such a boost as well as the sunshine.
Okay, we are almost at the hour mark. We got to wrap it up. Any last words?
I was thinking as you were talking that we're so stressed about the peace out there, and we're so quick to picket and to get on our social media and say our piece and everything like that. But here's the thing: be the change. Be the change you want to see. Everybody's trying to get peace out there, and they don't even know how to find peace in their heart. Find the peace in your heart, and as if we all do that one thing, there is peace on earth.
Love that. Be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yeah. Yep.
Be the peace. Okay, guys, I uploaded another important news report feature interview on my YouTube here. Professional basketball player Royce White, you definitely want to watch this. He called out ESPN live on air, just like I called out Fox live on air. Well, he actually did that before me, and I didn't even know. I got connected to him afterwards. But not only that, he is he's wearing key terms on his side of his head. He writes these suppressed news things on the side of his head during a basketball game, forcing the topic onto TV. And some of these things I can't even say what they are, but one is like the Federal Reserve. He'd write a statement about Federal Reserve Bank because people don't realize their power. Anyway, I got the whole interview with him about that, so check it out. I have part of the interview on here on YouTube. Full uncensored interview is on ivoryhecker.com because he is so outside the narrative, which is so refreshing for an athlete. He is an original thinker. So you're going to want to see that uncensored interview because I think the second half of it is the best part. But anyway, it's I'm going to keep doing these pieces and challenge people to think for themselves. I think Royce triggers some people on both sides, which is good. I think everyone needs to get triggered a little, force themselves to think for themselves during this time. Don't get brainwashed by anyone. I know that people on the left and the right hate me right now. I can tell you stories. I'm about to start writing a book, so you'll learn about this. Anyway, it's been such a pleasure. I'm so glad my mom came on.
Yeah.
Renee Hacker. Check out her life coaching. First session free, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's linked in my description.
Session.
Clarity session, so life coaching.
Like a 30-minute session just to see if we're a good fit, if I think I can help you, and if you're comfortable with me. Yeah.
Absolutely. So link in my description for that. Her Instagram's in there too. She's got a lot of great stuff on her Instagram. And hang in there, guys.
Yeah.
We love you. We're all in this together. It's crazy. Yeah. And stay tuned for my coverage. I'm going to continue to keep it real. We'll see you guys later.